Hi guys. In the past we've done a bunch of videos. I have gotten a request to show how to attach specifically assigned out-of-band management IP addresses to leaf nodes. So that's exactly what we'll do today. Let's take it away. So I've prepared a couple of things already. Specifically, I've already connected to the sandbox to a reserved node, which if you want to be guided through that quickly, let's create a new tab, go to developer.cisco.com. Okay, I'm already logged in, it's cached. Then you go to sandbox. We are working on ACI, so it's going to be data center, and then you say explore all data centers, just to get a nice view of what we're looking for. And then this is the one that says ACI Simulator 4.2 Reserve, and then you would click the reserve button here. You would specify your timing that you've got it available for. Currently, I am reserved on this, so that's where we're going to be working on this specific one. So this is not an always on. You have to reserve a time and spin up the VPN in order to connect to this, because the part that we are now basically working on is not available in always on. Okay, so considering I'm already there, this is the topology that we will be working with. Okay, and then this is the devices that you'll have to your availability. So I've already connected into this CentOS box over there. So what I will be doing is showing you that once we bring this node, once we put this IP address on as an out-of-band management, then the network should be able to reach it. So just to give you an idea, I'm going to try and ping it now, and it should fail completely. Host unreachable. That's fine. So we're just going to put that to the side. And there is a Windows dev box as well, but I'm going to, because my VPN is started up, I can reach the devices directly. I'm going to use my own development environment. So these are the two that I have tested prior. So I will go through them with you specifically. Okay, so let's just quickly get our bearings here. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So then on the Apic, generally when you log in, all tenants, you're going to be seeing this section. You want to go to the management tenant, same there or there on your box. And then you want to go to node management address. You want to expand that and you want to look at static node addresses. Now, the way to manually do this is you would go and create your static node management address here. This Apic is particularly slow, but that's fine. Then 101 to 101, because we want to configure node 101. It's going to be an out-of-band management address. The reason I'm pulling it to the side, because I want to see the gateway of the network that is running on this network for this environment already. So this is a default management. The IP address here is 10.10.20.101, because that is what we want to the IP address to be of node 101. And we have to give the CIDR bit of the mask. Okay, and then here we give the 10.10.20.254, which correlates to this address over here, IP gateway. Now, before I submit, I'll come back and redo this now. Let me just quickly show the API inspector for this so that you guys see that as well. Make this slightly smaller. Okay, let me just increase the size of it. Okay, so create static node. We said 101 to 101. It is an out-of-band management default, and we are going to be using 10.10.20.101/24. And also the reason why I'm choosing /24 because the network is /24. Over there it would show you. Okay. Then we want the gateway is 10.10.20.254. That is everything we need. Okay. Let's clear our addressing and submit. Yes, that gives me an address of 101. And as you can see here, as soon as I did that, I started getting a reply from that address. So we are going to now delete this address. You see the correct one. That's the one I just added. Delete. Yes. Now we've got the payload that was over there that you can take, which I have already captured and put over here. The main thing to note here is the inside the path. I'll just copy it like this, and you can see it in the script. So I did this over here, and I pasted it over there. By the way, I just copied and pasted these two pre-register node scripts that we did in the previous video or videos, and I just renamed it to out-of-band IPXL and out-of-band IP. The payload, which is fairly small, I just put here, and now I'm going to discuss the structure quickly. So the main thing you need for this is you're going to need still your Apic address. You're going to need a username, password. Then you need a node ID in terms of what leaf node ID are you going to be using. So we wanted to configure 101, and then you need a pod ID to say which pod is that leaf associated in. Then you need your IP address and the mask. And the mask I put here is actually going to be the CIDR bit. So the /24 or /30 or whichever the size of the network is, not the 255.255.255.0 equivalent. And then obviously the gateway. Those were the variables that we put into the front end. So as you can see here, we're still keeping the same Apic to Apic and appending the path. And here is where we put in the different section. Now, all the way till there, if you can see did I copy that? Yeah, home. So let's just hash this out. So if you look closer to this section, the one we spoke to was node 101 and pod 1. So all I did is I created those variables to be formatted into the string. And I said pod ID is equal to the variable pod ID, which is passed into the function over there. And that's the same with the node ID as well. Then in the payload, we do the same. It's going to be pod ID over there, node ID. Then here is the section which I specifically put in this way. I split it up into two sections that get formatted into the string just to keep our structure of our Excel spreadsheet a little bit simpler. Okay, so this is going to be the IP address, the CIDR mask of the network size, and then this is the gateway. Okay, now we're going to go and explain the variables in the Excel. This is the Excel I created already, and this was just purely to speed up some video time so that you don't feel the need to click through too much. Okay, so the Apic address that we are connecting to is this one. If you can see over there, it's 10.10.20.14, which I got from over here in the details of the reservation lab. So right down here, it says to connect to the Apic at that address. And this is the username and password. So this password I had to go and update in my password field as well. So you'll see I've just hashed out the old password for the always on and put the new password in. Yeah, I can still just save this. Then, as before, the node ID is incremental. And remember, there can't be a duplicate. It will give you a 400 error if you say 101 and 101 here, for example. The pod ID is just specifying the pod ID for each record, because this is going to be one IP that we're going to assign to leaf 101, and this is going to be one IP entry that we're going to assign to leaf 102. There is the IPs, the CIDR bit network masks, and the gateways. In this case, the gateway is the same. So I'm going to save that. This is still the general standard way of the way we did it in the previous videos. If there's anything you missed, I would suggest just going back and watching how we built these calls or functions from scratch so that you don't get confused. Now, this does not take into effect, this was the initial stage to test, but when I call this function from another Python file, it's now not going to, at the entry point of the file is not going to be this. So this won't be taken into effect. Now, in this Excel one, I am calling that function from the file which we created over there. And technically this is not, as you can see, this is I'm saying register node, but it's actually register, let's say, OOB. And all I need to do for that to carry on working is I need to put it in that section so that we call the right function. Okay, that seems to be it. Now let's run through the structure of this file function quickly. In this section, I am appending, because I'm in a different part of the data right now, and I'm going to be running it from this folder. And the data folder inside of this tested folder, I'm looking for that file name. Now, the file name is over here called data.xlsx, which is the Excel file. Then this is not necessary. This is just to troubleshoot a bit if something goes wrong, basically. Then here I'm creating a variable called data frame, and I'm reading the specific sheet name of the file, right, of OOB_IP. As you can go, let's go back to the data, and you see here we created a new sheet called OOB_IP, and this is where it comes from. Now, inside here, I'm creating different lists, and the data that's going to be populated into the list is coming from the data frame in the column labeled Apic, as per there. And maybe I can just blow this up a little bit so you can see how this correlates to each. So this will become a list, this will become a list, that will become a list, this will become a list, and so forth, all the way to the end, right? Then in the range, now I'm saying in the range from 0 to the length of the first entry, or the list the size of this, because I want my index to be a number and not a object or a string or specific like that. I'm calling the out-of-band IP post, which comes from this file over here, which we created. And then I'm basically just passing in the information of the address, username and password, node ID, pod ID, object, out-of-band IP, and mask and gateway. So now to test this, I'm going to show you what it looks like when we run this. Let me stop this, clear. Let's create 2 of these. I'm going to try and get as much of this on the screen as possible so that you see how quickly this happens. So we're going to Apic over there. And I want to duplicate this session. I need to go and grab this username quickly, which is over the password. Copy. So go back to the Apic. Now here I want to ping 101. And here I want to ping 102. So let's start that. We are expecting it to fail. That's normal. Now we're going to run this main file out of band IP XL. So as you can see that it's giving me a JSON payload in response. Of 200 OK there and 200 OK there. And there is the response of the IP address starting to respond. And here below you see the 2 nodes being added. That is, in a nutshell, that is how you create your leaves to have specific IP addresses for out-of-band management and out-of-band network connectivity. This then have showed you the front-end GUI way of how to add the IP address and to do it via a script where you can do multiple leaves at the same time, which is my preference. If you like the videos, please subscribe and hit the bell icon, and then you can get updated for any further videos that I do regarding automation. If there's anything you want to know specifically, add a comment and put in a request, and I'll have a look into it.